Hello friends, welcome back. Today I'm sharing with you my Let Love Grow DIY Valentine's Day tree featuring these lovely gnomes, all sorts of beautiful silk flowers, glittery accents. I am just thrilled with how this tree came out. Most of this is Christmas clearance floral and some random bits and bobs that I had on hand. I'll be walking you through exactly how all of this came together, and I hope you enjoy this and this inspires you to make use of your Christmas tree all year round. Since we're all spending so much more time at home, it's easy to get lost in the days and weeks that pass, and so for me, having a seasonal tree this year seemed like a good idea. So will it last all year? I don't know, but having these cute little gnomes on my tree with sparkly hearts and beautiful flowers just brightens my day when I see it, and I think right now we can all use a little bit of that. So let me show you how this tree comes together. If you want to just watch the pretty pictures of the tree, I'll have an overview video ready that'll have nice music and won't have anybody talking, and you can just appreciate the tree for the sparkly garden creation that it is. Alright, now let's get started on the tutorial. Alright, so these are my hearts. Some of them are more janky than other, but these are literally my second sewing project ever, and essentially I'm using them to help fill in some of the tree space because they're nice and solid, but they're also really lightweight, and I practiced a few different patterns, but essentially, so I have a few different shapes and sizes, but essentially I was able to like just gently wedge these into the tree branches, and it works really good. And the reason I did these is partially because I had two of these. I'm still not sure if they're like, it's like a Shantung Dupioni something linen that I think it was either a tablecloth or maybe like a curtain panel. I don't know. I got them from Goodwill, but the tags say they're from Walmart, so it's nothing fancy, but it's a nice red fabric with like a really subtle texture to them. And you can see they'll have a nice little sheen to them. This one, TBD if we're going to use, I got a little excited and was like, I can sew in beading and trim, but that is not how it turned out. So we'll see if we can troubleshoot that and fix it. But essentially, I would not use these like on your bed or anything, because like some of them I tried to hand sew and that got annoying. So the rest of them, I have like these little seams in there that you can't really tell, especially when they're wedged in the tree. Nobody can be able to see that. But I like these, and I'm glad I made them because they're going to take up a lot of space. I had pretty much everything on hand. I just used whatever. I had the fabric. I had the polyfill for my cloud project. I already have a sewing machine, so the hardest thing for me was just Googling how to do this. And then I made myself some patterns out of some old large calendar pieces. And so just made a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes. And I think they're going to be a nice contrast to some of the ornaments and stuff that I've picked up at like the craft stores and stuff that have like that heavy glitter texture to them. So these are going to go on the tree first, and then we'll fill in around it. Now, regardless if this is your Christmas tree or Valentine's Day tree, number one most important thing, in my opinion, is the lights. I was really fortunate this last Christmas to buy a new Christmas tree, which I have a whole video on this tree. I love it. It has so many different combinations of colors and settings, so I don't have to switch out my tree lights. I already have some of my soft glow twinkle lights still on here that I didn't take down because I love them. So whatever you need to do for your lights to your tree, I just wanted to show you what some red lights look like, because I know those are available this time of the year. Make sure your lights are on there. If you have just your white lights from Christmas, those will be perfectly fine. It actually looks, in my opinion, better at night, especially with the white lights with the white flowers, but I'll show you that later. This is just a few of the different settings if you have a tree like mine or similar that has a bunch of different settings, I really encourage you to kind of play with the settings before you put anything on the tree, because I think you'll get a good sense of what you're trying to, like the vibe, essentially. And yes, I realize it looks weird that there's a bunch of random flowers on there, and that is because all of my floral, which is Christmas clearance, I wanted to, because there was such a mix of them, there's 6 different types of flowers, some this kind of creamy pink, very, very, very pale pink, if that, but because there's 6 different flowers, I wanted to see how they all kind of responded to the lights, and that way I could have a good visual aid in my mind of what we're working with, right? Like, you always want to know what your supplies and are going to be materials. So that's why I always have one of each on the tree when I get started. I also have on hand some of my picks that I'm going to be using, like these beautiful ones that I found at Michael's. I have my gnomes that I wired in. I bought these from, I don't know, last year. I bought them from Home Goods, I think. This heart, another one of the ones that I made, which we don't want to look at it up close, but it works well for a tree topper. I like to get my tree topper started first before I do the body of the tree, so the biggest pieces go in first. And I think I have all these, like, I bought about 100 stems total. These nice champagne kind of like seaweed looking pieces. I got these from Valentine's Hobby Lobby this year, these nice little picks, so I got a handful of those. They're going to go up there in my tree topper. And guys, this is true whatever tree you're decorating for, whatever season. Editing. See, I put all this up here and I liked most of it, except for I have these glitter champagne picks that were just a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker, that I put up. They're different than the seaweed looking ones. They're just a little bit more like, let's say, they look more like a coral than a seaweed. They didn't fit the vibe. And so before proceeding, I had stepped down, taken a look at what I had on the tree topper, and I said, it doesn't really look right. I don't like the vibe. So I'm editing them, and I think there's nothing wrong with removing things. I'm a more is more kind of girl, but you gotta look at it. So at this point, if you've been working on your topper, you got these crystal bead strands from Michael's, a heart, some little heart picks. You got your gnomes up there potentially. It's okay to step back and be like, this might be too much. Now, because the bigger pieces of my tree topper are in, and I want there to be more dimension, I started adding and layering in some floral and some glitter foam roses that you could just get at anywhere. Hobby Lobby, Michael's, probably Joann's. I don't have one right next to me, but I assume they have it too. So the top of my tree is done. It has a nice cascading effect. It's going to draw your eye down throughout the tree. I have my lights kind of where I want them, and I'm kind of envisioning kind of swooping heart red look. And since the hearts are the biggest elements on the tree, they need to go in first. They're also great because they play with proportions and scale, but they also are wonderful because they're lightweight, they take up a lot of space, and by extension, you don't have to have as many floral picks or decorations or anything else. So win-win. Super glad I made these. Highly recommend doing it. You don't want to look up close on my sewing work, but anybody who's more professional sewer than me is going to have a great time making them. They were very easy. I have some of my red glitter ornaments that I put on more of the edge pieces where I wanted to fill in some spots, but I'm seeing you can see me pointing to where there's some bigger holes, so I want to use the largest flowers that I have. So in this case it's the hydrangea. They're the only non-rose floral that I picked up, I think, and hydrangea are great in fresh arrangements or silk arrangements because they take up so much space, and if you're purchasing real hydrangea, they're very affordable. So I paired most of these hydrangeas with a little bit of that seaweed champagne pick just for a little extra texture and dimension, and I think they pair nicely together. You can see I even went so far as to put some on the side to help make sure that side angle view has some nice texture to it when you're looking down and it's not just the side of a blank tree slot. So looking at some of the other roses that we got, some of the stems had 3, some had 1 big bloom. These had kind of a silky finish to them, These over here had 2 buds per stem, like a big one and then like a little bud. So I always like to lay out all of my pieces, like these little clustered roses. I'm a big fan of laying everything out and then working on filling it in. Now I started with just like, let's layer 1 rose in. So I picked one of the rose types that I got a bunch of stems and I put them in and I was like, okay, that's great. And you could see very clearly which ones they are. And then I practiced on one of the little clusters, like what would those look like, because I wanted to see how they work together. And it's important to step back and say, okay, where is their stuff missing? Like, where are their obvious holes? Now, obviously, at this stage, there's a lot, but you can tell where you're really missing and needs some more love. So I just kept going and filling in pretty much until I didn't have anything left in my pile, at least floral wise, because the floral was the next largest piece to my puzzle that I was missing here. So I really enjoyed filling in all the spots, and it's okay that there's still some greeny pushing through. In my mind, this is very much like a giant rose bush, you know, like bursting with roses, love growing out of it, literally with beautiful hearts. So I don't mind that there's green coming through. Like if this is a giant rose bush in the garden and you have these beautiful garden gnomes up top, like of course you want some green popping through. Now at this point, I started adding some of my shatterproof ornaments. I've got these plastic ones from last year. I picked up some new glitter ones. I had some little ones. These big ones I'm saving for another tree, but I had them on hand just in case I really wanted them. But the glitter adds a beautiful finishing sparkle to it, paired with the glitter and sequins tree skirt, which is so easy, no sew. I will link to the video on how to do it, but spoiler alert, you just cut 1 straight line halfway through a round tablecloth. So easy. I have my old dinosaurs that I made that used to be my Valentine's Day centerpiece that have a cute little heart floating in the middle of them. I've got a whole video on how to make those if you want. I'm obsessed. I needed a little bit more sparkle in my tree because I'm me, and I loved the way the red and white lights were playing off of things. So I have some just random crystals that I have from a garage sale, believe it or not. So I hung those on. I have beautiful little clusters of flowers that I rearranged a little bit. There's even some random picks in here with crystals from God, I don't even know how long, but I love the vision of just this beautiful garden rose kind of tree bush guarded by all these beautiful gnomes. I have the gnomes on the top that are in a little bit more of a neutral tone, but then I'll show you guys in a few minutes some of the other pairs that I have in here. But just kind of wanted to show you how cool these hearts are, because even though they have that shimmer in the fabric, I think having the shimmery fabric with the heavy glitter content is a really nice combination. And so I really encourage you guys to play with textures a lot, because in my opinion, it makes such a big difference. I even have some cute little hidden gems in here, like these little snow, they're not really snowy, but it was from clearance at Michael's, these little swans. I've got a pair of those, so everything in here has a pair if it's a gnome or the swans. They all have a nice other half in here. And I want to show you guys the side of the tree here and see how you don't just see a bunch of branches. You see the heart sticking out. You see some squiggles. This is a gnome bottle topper from Christmas from Amazon. So cute, and they're lightweight, so you were able to just slide a Christmas hook in the top of them and hang them on the tree, and they look perfect. They weigh nothing, and I love that there's a set of 4 of them, so they all have a partner that's on the tree somewhere. And I am just thrilled with how the sequins tree skirt came out, you guys. Every time I see it, I'm like, yes, it pulls it all together. Oh, I love it. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this tree as much as I do. And I would love to know how many of you are considering making a seasonal tree this year. In 2021, with everybody being home and potentially more quarantines and everything, I am just curious to know. This tree looks gorgeous at night. You can see in the low light setting how illuminating it is with the lights and the white flowers. It just is beautiful. I love the shadows that is created. It's just, I've literally been staring at it a few nights in a row now, and I'm obsessed with it. So let me know what you guys think, and I can't wait to hear what kind of seasonal tree you guys might be taking on this year. If you have questions, ask me down below, and I will do my best to help you. Thanks so much for watching, you guys.